Hey guys, it's Bren at the Homestead. It's been something on my mind because I saw some comments over on one of the social medias. There's a lot of people, and I know it's usually a lot of younger people than I am. They want to get into homesteading. They're already working 2 jobs, or you're a single person and you're doing a side hustle, and you feel like you're tapped out, basically. I get it, and I get that it makes transitioning hard to get into homesteading, which is why I always tell people to go back to, like, just start doing small things for yourself. But I totally get the cost of living going up. I totally get you feel like you're on the hamster wheel where you're pedaling as fast as you can and getting nowhere. I've been there. Years ago, I've been there. So I know the feeling. The thing I see a lot of people doing, though, is you kind of tie yourself to a monetary value. You have an employee mentality, and you see that you need to make X number of dollars in order to cover all your expenses. But I think there's a lot of hidden expenses that are going out the door when you look at it that way. And if you're setting yourself up for that monetary number, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because we have a government that, in my opinion, doesn't care much about us. We have a fiat system for our currency. There's other ways of looking at things, and that's what I want to go into today. Everybody says they can't quit their job because they need money. True. A lot of people are employees, and as an employee, you seem to have a different mindset than someone that's an entrepreneur or a business owner. And you get in that mindset that you need X number of dollars to survive. And like if you're two people each having an income, you're like, oh, well, I have to have this amount of money or we can't make it. There's some hidden costs, though, when you're an employee. And that's what I want to kind of get into first. When you're an employee and you're working 8 hours for somebody, but it takes you, say, a half hour to get there and a half hour home, you're actually working 9 hours to earn eight hours worth of pay. The other thing is you're paying for your car, for the gas, for the insurance, for the tires, for all the maintenance that goes into your car to get to work, or you're paying for whatever, your train, your bus, your some sort of transportation costs to get to your job. A lot of you will have clothing that you only wear for your job. When I worked in corporate, I had my corporate clothes and I had my farm clothes. 2 totally different sets of clothing. And I will tell you right now, my corporate clothes cost a lot more than my homesteading clothes. There's other things that get hidden along the way, like you're running behind. So you just grab that quick cup of coffee on the way to work, which is overpriced. Or you buy your lunch because you forgot to pack something, or I know how it is. When you get to work, everybody's going out for lunch. So come on, let's go. And everybody goes out to lunch together. And yeah, you spend a lot of money on things that you wouldn't spend that on if you were at home. So that's one angle to look at things from, especially if you're like a couple and one person wants to quit or go part-time. Start looking at those little hidden costs that are going into working somewhere, and see if there's something that you can start eliminating, and then start putting that money aside and saving it. And also calculate out your time, your gas prices, everything that is going into your vehicle. Estimate, like, what is this really costing me to have a job? And that will start opening your eyes a little bit. And of course, keep track of all your receipts. If you're stopping for coffee, they add up big time. If you're thinking about quitting your job, or maybe I'm gearing this more towards if you are a couple and one person wants to leave the workforce and stay home and maybe have kids, or just start the homestead. Like somebody wants to start the homestead and the other will join on later when you have some sort of income streams established. Look at things from a pre-tax versus post-tax basis. So say you want something and it's $8 on the shelf. Well, you have to earn $10 to buy that $8 item, because you have to earn pre-tax dollars to buy that post-tax item. Whereas if that same item, let's say it's a food item, and you can make it for $2 or $3, let's say $3. Well, $3 pre-tax is a lot less than $8 pre-tax. And that difference is a big savings. Now, it does take time to make something, but it's not a taxable item, is what I'm getting at. So it might be something that you want to look at as far as like, what can I do for myself that, like, maybe you cut firewood and you heat your house completely with firewood and you have your own timber to cut down. Well, that can't be taxed. If it's on your property and you're cutting down your own timber and you're splitting your own wood, you're getting that value of whatever those BTUs are coming out of that firewood for your basically your sweat. But if you had to go work for someone and say put oil in your tank or gas in your heater, or even if you bought wood from someone else. So let's say you are paying $400 for a cord of wood. You may have to make, let's rough this up, maybe $550 pre-tax to pay for that $400. Whereas if you were working on your own with your own land, you're not having to make that money to get the end result, same end result. So I guess what I'm getting at is you got to start looking at everything. And the other thing is when you're home, you can like do multiple tasks at the same time. Whereas, like, I could have dishes soaking, I can be out hanging laundry at the same time, or whatever whatever I have to do that day. I can do multiple tasks at the same time. Whereas when you're working a job, you get home, you're exhausted, and then you have to start your first task. You could be doing something else while you're home, while you're doing something else that's productive. Whereas at work, you're stuck there. You're locked in your little cubicle or wherever you work, and you're stuck there. You can't do multitasking. So now let's get into the assets that you have that can't be taken away. Unlike like a 401k, if the market takes a nosedive tomorrow, it's goodbye. I hope that doesn't happen because I'm too close to retirement. But that money is useless. But if you have skills and knowledge, you have that to come back on. And bottom line is, like, I would be mad if my 401k took a dive. I'm not going to starve. Food, shelter, water, and energy are the things you need to survive. So if you know how to do those 4 things, you're golden. So skills and knowledge, big time asset. If you have those, they can't take them from you. So that's like one thing that you have that cannot be taken from you. The next thing is experience and wisdom. The older you get, the more experiences you have. So if you're young, you have to get through a certain period of time to experience everything. And you never experience everything, let's put it that way. I'm still learning, always will be learning. And the older you get, supposedly the wiser you are. I should be a freaking genius, but I don't think that hit yet. But yeah, take everything that you fail at and turn it into, hey, I learned something from this, and that will become part of your experience base and your wisdom base, and hopefully you won't do it again. Another asset that you have that they can't take from you is your mindset and your resilience. And by that, what I mean is, are you that person that, oh, the lights went out, or are you that person like, oh, the lights went out again? That's me, because around here, the lights go out every week. But are you that person that's just kind of like, okay, I'm rolling with the punches? Because that really makes a big difference. If you can just roll with the punches and you can change basically directions quickly, go with things and not get riled, that's a skill set, really. I will say I fail in that a lot because I am a hyper person, and man, when things aren't going my way, some days I make up swear words, but it's a mindset. I wish I was better at it, but the people that can do it and that are just calm, cool, and collected all the time. You guys are awesome. That's not me all the time, but it is an asset, and it's something I wish I had more of, but it's a real asset that cannot be taken from you. Another asset that they can't take away from you is your discipline and your work ethic. Around here, we have the garden has to be watered, has to have weeds pulled. When things need to be harvested, they need to be harvested. We have the, like right now, we're working on firewood, or Chuck's working on firewood. If it's not split now, it's not going to be seasoned for the next season, and it's got to be done. It's just got to be done. You got to get up, you got to get your butt to work, and you got to do what needs to be done. My animals, they need to be fed every day. They need to have water every day. They need to be checked on a couple times a day. Things need to happen. So if you're going to get into this lifestyle and you think that you're going to play video games all day, that's not going to work. It is work. It's a lot more work than probably what I ever did at corporate. In fact, when I worked at corporate, I also did homesteading on the side. So, and I worked a lot of hours for corporate too. So maybe I'm a little bit of a workaholic. But it's an asset, and they can't take it away from you. Creativity and resourcefulness is another asset. So if you have a creative side, or you're very resourceful, if you can make things, that's a great asset to have. It cannot be taken away, especially creativity. Creativity is so cool because some people can create things that nobody else can make. My husband's that way with his woodworking. He can create things that I don't think a lot of people could create. And he has a vision when he's doing things that I'm more the concrete A, B, C, D. Like everything is very uniform and exact and precise. He's more artsy. So that is truly an asset. So if you have something like that, make it shine, because if you can do something with that creativity to make money on your homestead, that's awesome. So another asset is your self-reliance and your emotional intelligence. What I mean by that is what you do for yourself should be your own accomplishment. And you shouldn't need, homesteading is not a trophy sport. In fact, you don't get participation trophies. What you do is you set goals for yourself and you accomplish those goals, and then you give yourself your own pat on the back and go, yay, I did it. And the feeling that you get is a freedom feeling, like, okay, I can do this. And guess what? I can do more. And then you set yourself the next set of goals. And you know, it might be a major goal, but you set little milestones along the way. That's what I mean by self-reliance and emotional intelligence. You don't need to rely on someone else to tell you anything. There's so many younger people that I see, you youngins, that I see that care so much about what other people think of you. And I think the reality is you're putting too much emphasis on that, because they really don't care. And if they do, who cares? Stay in your own lane, make your own goals, and accomplish your own goals. You don't need validation from other people. The validation is in your own self. And that self-reliance leads to your own freedom. And that is something that cannot be taken away from you. And those that have it, in my experience in life, get further ahead in life and obtain their goals because they know they're on that trajectory that they are going to hit a certain point, period, and nothing's going to stop them. You got to make yourself that person if you're going to be a homesteader, because otherwise it's going to be hard. If you're looking for validation from someone else, it's going to be very hard. That asset, that self-reliance, kind of touches on my final real assets that they can't take from you. I want to say like an inner fire or your purpose. And you have to establish that for yourself. It's your purpose. It's your reason for existence. And it kind of goes along with, you know, you're not part of the crowd that you're going to listen to telling you what to do and being upset if you don't meet their standards. because their standards don't mean much. Another thing I want to say about the purpose and the inner fire asset is, if that's something you can establish early on in your life, do it. Not to say it won't change later on, but I wasted probably the first, I don't know, 20 years of my life maybe. Now, I homesteaded during that time, but I went to college, and I have a lot of college, and I worked in corporate for about 15 years. Wow. While doing goats and gardening and canning all my own food and all that stuff. I'm very driven. But I remember one day, I had a homestead where I had a very large house. And I had woods, and back in the woods is where I hid my barns back in the woods, because I didn't want people to know my secret homesteading life, which was really my passion. And I remember being back in the woods playing with my goats. I had multiple areas back there fenced off for them. And I remember looking back at the house, and something struck me as odd. And it wasn't the price of the house. I had paid it off. It was a rather large house. But I remember looking back at it and thinking, that thing there doesn't make me at all happy. All it is a big freaking thorn in my side. I was paying a lot of real estate taxes on it. I was paying a lot of insurance on it. And I really wasn't getting any enjoyment out of it. It was just a big freaking asset that I thought I had to have because of the status that I had for work. And there was no joy in it whatsoever. The faster you can come up with or know what you want to do in life, the better off you're going to be. Because had I been able to start earlier, I'd be so much further ahead now. And I'm pretty far ahead now compared to a lot of people. But because I am I'm a full-time homesteader. My husband's full-time homesteader. And we own multiple businesses. But at the same time, it would have been a lot easier had I just decided early on and not threw money away because I thought I had to live a certain lifestyle because I thought that's what people thought I should be. One thing I do want to point out with the real assets that they can't take away from you is they're not inflationary, they're not taxable, they're true assets. So anything that you can learn to do for yourself, do it. Definitely a worthwhile journey if you're going to get into homesteading. If you're trying to switch over to homesteading, do it slowly, do it meticulously, have your ducks in a row as best you can before you make a true leap. Don't just leap into it. That would be crazy. Finally, I want to touch on having a homestead business. Once you get to a point where you are a homesteader or you can start a side hustle as a homesteader, there are so many tax breaks that you can get. That's a whole different story for a whole different day. Start looking into that because that changes your game. Maybe you're making $100,000 as an employee. Maybe as a homesteader, $50,000 will be just fine because you'll still be at the same net. It's all about the net. It's all about what you got at the end of the day. That will be your key. Always remember that. That's a good quote. I should put that in a cross stitch. It's all about the net. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got anything out of it, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.